This isn't just another blurry clip, another late-night rumor, or another rap beef turning loud for attention. This is the kind of footage that makes the entire industry stop breathing for a second. Because when the video surfaced showing NBA YoungBoy and Lil Tim in the same space, tensions boiling over, voices raised, bodies moving fast, people instantly knew this wasn't supposed to happen. Not now, not ever. The internet didn't just react, it panicked. Screenshots started flying. Group chats went silent. Blogs hesitated before even hitting post because everyone understood the weight of what they were seeing. For years, these two names have existed on opposite sides of one of the darkest, most sensitive chapters in modern rap history. Lines were drawn. Silence was strategic. Distance was intentional. And then suddenly there they were face to face, and the energy was wrong. You can feel it through the screen. The body language, the chaos. The split second where things could have gone completely left. People who have watched the clip frame by frame swear there's a moment where someone lunges, someone gets pulled back, and the entire room realizes how close this was to becoming irreversible. Fans are asking the same question over and over again. How did this even happen? Who let them be in the same vicinity? And why does this feel bigger than just a fight? Because this isn't about ego. This is about history, loss, pressure, and a situation that was never meant to collide in public. The footage is real. The reactions are explosive. And what happened next behind the scenes might be even more shocking than what the camera caught. The moment the video hit the timeline, everything stopped. Not paused, not slowed, stopped. Phones froze mid-scroll. Group chats went dead silent. Even the blogs hesitated because everyone understood instantly that this wasn't just another clip for engagement. This was history colliding with ego, trauma colliding with proximity, and two names that were never supposed to share the same air suddenly doing exactly that. NBA YoungBoy and Lil Tim. Same space, same moment. And the tension was so thick it practically bled through the screen. The footage itself is chaotic, grainy, and terrifyingly brief. But that's what makes it worse. There's no clean angle, no clear audio, just bodies shifting, voices rising, and a sudden surge of movement that makes your stomach drop. People who slowed it down frame by frame swear you can see the exact second everything changes. 1 second it's awkward. The next second it's volatile. Someone steps too close. Someone else reacts. Hands go up. People rush in. And for a split second, nobody knows if this is about to turn into something far darker than a scuffle. What makes this moment so explosive isn't just who's in the video. It's what they represent. These two names exist in the shadow of one of the most painful and sensitive chapters in modern hip-hop. Years of silence. Years of careful distance. Years where people avoided even mentioning them in the same sentence. Not out of respect alone, but out of fear of what reopening that wound could unleash. And now, without warning, the distance collapsed. Insiders are already whispering that this was never supposed to happen, that there were supposed to be layers of separation, different entrances, different schedules, different rooms. Someone messed up, someone didn't double-check, someone assumed it would be fine, but it wasn't fine. Because the second NBA YoungBoy realized who was in the room, everything shifted. The energy changed. Witnesses say his posture stiffened immediately. The joking stopped. The laughter died. And the air got heavy in a way that made people instinctively step back. Lil Tim, according to people close to the situation, wasn't looking for a moment. He wasn't chasing attention. He wasn't trying to provoke. But proximity alone was enough. History doesn't need words. It doesn't need insults. Sometimes just existing in the same space is the trigger, and that's exactly what it felt like here. Two timelines colliding in real time with no script, no control, and no room for error. The clip doesn't show a clean punch. It doesn't show a clear winner or loser. What it shows is confusion. People grabbing arms. Someone yelling to stop. Someone else trying to block the camera. And that's where the fear sets in, because everyone watching knows how quickly moments like this spiral. especially when pride, trauma, and reputation are all in the room together. Especially when cameras are rolling and there's no way to undo what's already been seen. Social media didn't just react, it exploded. Hashtags trended within minutes. Fans split instantly into camps, arguing over who stepped first, who looked aggressive, who should have been removed from the situation before it even began. Some people are calling it staged, others are calling it reckless, but the overwhelming majority are calling it what it looks like, a dangerous lapse in judgment that could have ended very differently. What's even more unsettling is what the video doesn't show. There's a gap, a few missing seconds where the camera dips and comes back up. That's where insiders claim the real chaos happened. Voices raised higher. Someone allegedly lunged. Someone else allegedly got pulled back hard. Security scrambling. And one person close to the scene says if not for quick intervention, this wouldn't be a story about a fight. It would be a story about something irreversible. NBA YoungBoy's camp has gone silent since the clip dropped. No tweets, no statements, no cryptic posts, and that silence is loud. Because when he chooses not to speak, it usually means something is being handled behind the scenes. Legal conversations, management conversations, damage control in motion. Lul Tim's side hasn't said much either, but people close to him say he left the situation visibly shaken, not celebratory, not triumphant, just aware of how close things came to going completely left. And then there's the question everyone keeps asking but nobody can answer yet. Why now? Why here? Why this moment? Some insiders believe the industry is playing with fire by allowing these intersections to happen without considering the emotional and historical weight attached to certain names. Others think this was bound to happen eventually, that you can only keep ghosts separated for so long before they collide. What's undeniable is that this video reopened wounds that never fully healed. Fans who thought this chapter was sealed are realizing it was only buried. The reactions aren't just about the clip. They're about what it represents, about unresolved grief, about the pressure of public life forcing people into moments they're not emotionally prepared to handle, and about how quickly everything can unravel when the wrong people end up in the same room. Behind the scenes, there are already reports of emergency meetings, of calls being made to prevent further fallout, of people trying to make sure there isn't a follow-up incident, a retaliation, or a situation that escalates beyond control. Because once something like this happens, the aftermath is just as dangerous as the moment itself. Rumors spread, emotions flare, narratives harden, and suddenly everyone is on edge. The scariest part, this might not be over. The clip ends, but the tension doesn't. People close to both sides are reportedly furious that this situation was allowed to happen at all. Names are being blamed, protocols are being questioned, and there's a growing fear that this was just the spark, not the explosion. Because when history resurfaces this violently, it rarely does so just once. By the next morning, the story had mutated into something even bigger than the video itself. What started as a few chaotic seconds on a shaky phone camera had now turned into a full-blown industry emergency. Blogs were racing each other to publish updates. Commentators were dissecting body language like forensic experts. Fans were arguing in threads hundreds of replies deep, each side convinced they knew the truth. But behind the noise, something far more serious was unfolding, and the people closest to the situation knew it. According to multiple witnesses who were actually in the room, the energy didn't explode out of nowhere. It simmered. The moment NBA YoungBoy clocked who was nearby, the temperature changed. Conversation slowed. Smiles faded. One insider said it felt like the room knew before the people did. That kind of tension doesn't need words. It doesn't need threats. It's a silent understanding that something is wrong and getting worse by the second. What's being whispered now is that the confrontation didn't start on camera. The clip that went viral allegedly caught the middle, not the beginning. Before the phones came out, there were looks exchanged. Someone reportedly said something under their breath. Another person stepped in, trying to keep distance. And that's when everything unraveled. Not because anyone planned it, but because the situation itself was combustible. People close to NBA YoungBoy say he was furious after the incident, not just about the interaction, but about how it was allowed to happen at all. Sources claim he felt blindsided, put in a position that could have ended his career, his freedom, or his life. That kind of anger doesn't fade quickly. It simmers, it turns inward, and it demands answers. Who cleared the location? Who approved the guest list? Who failed to do their job? On the other side, Lil Tim's camp is reportedly just as shaken, but for different reasons. People close to him say he didn't expect to be pulled into a moment that would instantly go viral and reopen old wounds on a global scale. One source described him as quiet but tense afterward, aware that regardless of what actually happened, the internet was going to decide its own version of events. And once that happens, there's no controlling the narrative. What made things worse was the sudden flood of insider leaks that followed. Anonymous accounts started claiming there were longer videos. Others said security had to physically separate people more aggressively than what the clip showed. A few even hinted that law enforcement was notified, though no official confirmation has surfaced. Each rumor added fuel, whether true or not, because the public was already primed to believe the worst. Then came the reactions from other artists, not direct statements but subtle ones. Cryptic tweets about keeping distance and energy not to play with. Instagram stories about peace, growth, and avoiding situations that can't end well. Fans read between every line, convinced these were indirect references to the incident. Whether intentional or not, the message was clear. The industry felt shaken. What's especially unsettling is how many people are admitting this was a preventable situation. Event organizers, managers, and security professionals have all chimed in online, saying that basic protocol should have stopped this before it ever began. Separate entrances, staggered arrivals, clear communication. Someone dropped the ball. And when you're dealing with names attached to heavy history, dropping the ball isn't a minor mistake. It's dangerous. As the hours passed, the clip continued to spread, crossing from hip-hop blogs into mainstream timelines. People who didn't even follow the culture started weighing in, asking why these two individuals were ever allowed in the same vicinity. That's when the conversation shifted. It stopped being about a fight and started being about accountability. About who's responsible when volatile histories collide in public spaces. Behind closed doors, sources say emergency calls were being made to calm things down, not just between camps but between labels, promoters, and legal teams. The goal wasn't to spin the story, it was to prevent the next chapter. Because the most dangerous part of moments like this isn't what already happened. It's what could happen next if emotions are allowed to escalate unchecked. Fans, meanwhile, were doing what fans do best and worst at the same time. Picking sides, digging up old clips, reposting past interviews to prove their point. Every old lyric, every past comment suddenly felt like evidence. The past was being dragged into the present, stitched together into narratives that felt convincing, even if they weren't accurate. And once those narratives take hold, they become almost impossible to undo. What nobody can ignore is how close this came to becoming something much darker. Multiple people present said there was a split second where the situation teetered on the edge. One wrong move, one delayed reaction, one person not stepping in fast enough, and the outcome could have changed lives forever. That reality is what has so many people shaken, even days later. The silence from both camps continues to be deafening. No denial, no explanation, no attempt to reframe the narrative, and that silence has only intensified speculation. Some believe legal advice is keeping everyone quiet. Others think both sides are trying to let the story burn out on its own. But history shows that when stories like this go quiet, it usually means something serious is happening behind the scenes. Industry veterans are already calling this a wake-up call. A reminder that unresolved history doesn't disappear just because time passes. It waits, and when it resurfaces, it does so without mercy. This wasn't about clout or publicity. It was about two paths crossing that were never meant to intersect, and the system around them failing to recognize the risk. As more details trickle out, one thing becomes increasingly clear. This wasn't just a random altercation caught on camera. It was a collision of past and present, pain and proximity, pressure and pride. And now everyone involved is left dealing with the fallout, knowing that the internet has seen just enough to be dangerous, but not enough to understand the full story. And that's where the fear really sets in, because the full story hasn't been told yet. And when it finally is, it might reveal just how fragile the situation truly was. As the dust settled and the clip kept looping across every platform imaginable, the conversation quietly shifted from shock to consequences. What people started realizing was that this moment didn't exist in a vacuum. It sat on top of years of unresolved grief, internet-fueled narratives, and a culture that rewards proximity to danger without fully respecting it. And now, everyone involved was being forced to confront what happens when boundaries collapse. Behind the scenes, sources say meetings were happening fast and in complete silence. No cameras, no posts, no leaks meant to go public. Managers, attorneys, and security heads were reportedly piecing together timelines, trying to understand who knew what and when. Because once a video like that exists, intent becomes irrelevant. Perception takes over, and perception can be just as damaging as reality. Several insiders have claimed the biggest fear wasn't retaliation or public backlash. It was escalation, the kind that doesn't trend on social media until it's too late. That's why, according to people close to the situation, there was an immediate push to create distance. Travel plans adjusted, appearances reconsidered, locations scrubbed. The goal was simple: make sure those paths never cross again. What made this situation especially volatile was how quickly fans began inserting themselves emotionally. For some, the video reopened old wounds. For others, it reignited loyalties that never fully faded. You could see it in the comments: the anger, the grief, the certainty that they knew what this moment meant. And that emotional investment only raised the stakes for everyone involved. Because when the public believes a narrative, it can pressure real people into reacting in real ways. There's also the uncomfortable truth that moments like this expose how thin the line is between security and chaos in the entertainment world.